Welcome back to Starkiller Base. Today we have a new tournament for you. This one is the Winter Kit at Face-to-Face Games in Toronto in February 2017. This is the round 1 featured game. On the left we have Jon C playing Darth Vader and the Tusken Raider, and on the right we have Chris playing Dooku eKylo. As you can see here, we took some of the viewer feedback and moved the hit points off of the card art and to a different area of the overlay, so you can see the hit points more clearly, and it still allows you to see that nice card art and the circles there. Let us know what you think about the overlay changes in the comments. So the players are just mulliganing, and then they're going to choose their battlefield. It looks like Chris is running the Starship Graveyard, and Jon is running the Rebel War Room. So definitely interesting choices. I think I would have expected to see an Emperor's Throne Room in the eKylo Dooku deck, but of course if you run into a Poe deck, you might end up finding your opponent use your battlefield a bit better than you do. Maybe the safer bet for a Starship Graveyard or something like that to keep your holocrons safe if somebody disarms them, or something along those lines. So the players are rolling up for initiative. And Chris definitely won initiative there, so we'll see which battlefield he picks. Looks like he's picking the Rebel War Room. I guess there is a lot of pay sides on the eKylo Dooku side with the 2 discard on Dooku and the 2 melee on eKylo, so that's not a bad choice.
Chris.
So Chris starts off with a shield on each character because he doesn't want to give Jon a distinct direction as to where he should go. I find that if you shield up a character, a lot of the time your opponent will just go for the other character, or they may consider that character to be your main character in the deck and try to take it out first. So it's kind of a tough call as to how to do that. But if you're not sure who they're going to go for first, then one-on-one is not too bad. So Jon plays out a holocron, Chris plays out a holocron. Jon pays 2 for a force training on Vader, and then Chris rolls in Dooku, gets a 2 melee and a couple of blanks. So Vader comes in, rolls in a 3 melee and a 2 disrupt, and Chris discards a force choke from his ability. I guess Jon's just getting all his dice together there. Chris plays isolation on the 3 melee, which is never a bad choice. Those Vader die are really dangerous, especially with things like force strike and that sort of thing. It could be sitting on a 2 disrupt, and the next action it might smack you for 3, so it's always good to control them when you can. Tusken Raider comes in and rolls 3 melee. Jon has apparently a bad habit of not exhausting his characters when he rolls them in, but you get the idea. Chris rolls in eKylo, gets a 1 melee and a resource. I'm guessing both players are looking to reroll their holocrons and get some force abilities out there for free. Chris did get rid of his force choke, so he must have at least another force power in his hand, I would hope. Jon disrupts Chris's resource. With the 2 disrupt, it's kind of an interesting choice because there is a 1 resource out on the eKylo die, so if Chris took the resource on the eKylo die, then Jon could have gotten rid of both of his resources, so I think I probably would have taken a resource or 2 off of the force training the holocron, and maybe done the 3 melee and seen what Chris did. He's probably going to reroll some stuff here.
3 to Vader.
So he puts 3 damage into Vader. If you can kill Vader early-ish in a Vader Raider deck, it definitely cripples him. The Raider's not nearly as dangerous, so as soon as Vader dies, unless there's some lightsabers and some force powers and that sort of thing on the Raider, it's more or less over for that Vader Raider deck. When you're fighting a eKylo Dooku deck, it's a tough call. Generally, you want to kill eKylo first because they have similar hit points, but Dooku's effective hit points, because of his ability, can be so much higher. So that's why eKylo Dooku players generally will put their upgrades out on Dooku first, because he's the more survivable of the 2. So it looks like Jon's resolving the 3 melee into Dooku. Chris discards a card to gain a shield, so that 3 melee turned into 1 damage overall, which is a really great trade for Chris, except I guess he's decided that he's not going to get a force ability upgrade out this turn, so it's not a bad choice. He had to discard a few cards. So it looks like Chris has claimed the battlefield and Jon has passed. Jon did a really good job this round of applying pressure to Chris's hand with Vader's ability and by attacking Dooku. It makes it a lot harder for you to find the die sides that you want when you have to discard a bunch of cards. Dooku is a really good choice for a holocron because he's got those natural focus sides on his dice. That allows you to be more likely to get the sides you're looking for because you can always focus the holocron into a special and then resolve it next action. So Jon rolls Invader, Chris discards a Feel Your Anger, which is really unfortunate because he just rolled 2 blanks. Oh, looks like he played Feel Your Anger. I apologize. So Jon's got a Force Training special and a Holocron special. I think Jon must have forgotten to ask Chris to discard a card, it seems.
Oh, sorry. Discard a card.
And now he's asking him to do it, so Chris is good enough to do it, even though it's too late since Chris took another action. So the Holocron special is resolved, and he puts in a Mind Probe, pays 1 to roll it in, and gets the special. So Jon can resolve those other 2 specials still. He's chaining the specials because he chose to resolve specials. So let's see what he does.
Can you resolve it? You can't resolve it. I can roll it in right away. If you can't resolve it.
The players are just having a discussion here about whether or not you can resolve it, even if you roll it in right away, and you actually can. I was the TO for the tournament, and Chris is just asking me about that. But essentially what you do is you say, I'm resolving specials. You resolve the special on the Holocron, you pay 1 to roll on the Mind Probe, or whatever Force ability upgrade you put in. If it rolls a special, you're still resolving specials in your action, so you can go special, special, special. The only restriction is that you can't resolve the same die twice when you're resolving specials. So example, if you resolved black 1 special and then re-rolled it into a special, you couldn't resolve it again. So Jon's resolving the Mind Probe into Dooku for 3 damage. Chris discards a card, takes 2. And I guess there's a Force Training special out there, and we'll see what he does with that one. Looks like a shield on Vader and 1 damage to Dooku. So Dooku's not looking so hot here. There's a focus on the Holocron, which is not the focus you're looking for if you're trying to get the Holocron to trigger. But he's got a focus, a melee, and a resource. So Chris has the potential to put some hurt into Vader this turn. He can put, looks like 4 damage if he focused the eKylo die into a 2 melee. And that would put Vader at 6 damage out of 13, which isn't too bad. It looks like Chris just discarded a No Mercy to do some re-rolling. He hits that Holocron special and 1 melee, a 2 melee, and a shield, so that's definitely an improvement. It's always nice to get an expensive upgrade out for free on someone, but when they only have a few hit points left, it's a question on how long they're going to last. Jon electroshocks the 2 melee off of Dooku, and Chris resolves the Holocron. I guess there's probably not much point in rolling it in if your opponent doesn't have too many cards, but it looks like Jon's got about 2 or 3 cards left, so it's not too bad. And Chris rolls in the 2 discard, which can be handy. You could dump Jon's hand. Not that he has a lot of dice to reroll right now, but it's never bad to hit it. Your opponent's always saving the best cards generally, like a No Mercy or a Power of the Force or something like that for a later turn when they can make a big play with it. So if you can get rid of it, then why not? Chris resolves the discard 2. Gets a deflect and an isolation. So deflect not really a big deal, although with a Mind Probe there's some range damage out there, but the isolation is always good to see gone, I'm sure. Well, Jon's probably deciding whether to re-roll the or claim. He claimed and he's resolving the 1 damage with his die. Not really a little known fact, but some people, they read the Rebel War Room and think that you can only resolve a die with a pay side on it, but you can actually resolve any die, so it allows you to claim a turn early. So Chris plays out his Holocron on Kylo, takes a shield, and then passes. So right now you see Vader has 9 hit points left, and Dooku has 5 plus a shield. But the funny thing is, with Dooku's ability, he can essentially have more or less the same number of hit points remaining as Vader with all those discards. That Mind Probe could cause a problem for him, though, because the best way to take out Dooku is to hit him for big damage. So, you know, like a melee side with a couple of modified sides. Definitely a Mind Probe for 4 or 5 would work. So Jon activates Vader, rolls in a Mind Probe special, a Holocron special, a blank, a Force Training special, and a 2 disrupts. Chris has got some decisions here. He should probably spend his money. So pays 3 for a Kylo's lightsaber. It looks like Dooku is taking 3 damage from the Mind Probe. Chris is deciding whether or not to discard another card. With discarding for Dooku and having to worry about Vader's ability, it can really add up. So he discards Isolation and takes 2.
You said 3, right? Oh, yeah, 3.
Except his shield is still out there for some reason.
Holocron? Another Mind Probe.
So Jon resolves the Holocron special, puts out a second Mind Probe, rolls it in, gets a 3 range damage for 1, which is definitely not what Chris wanted to see.
Give a shield, do damage.
He's triggering the Force Training special to do a damage to Dooku and then take a shield on Vader. There's a little bit of confusion there because Chris had a shield out there still, which should have been absorbed in the last damage, so they just took the shield away and everything's back to normal. So Dooku is basically 1 action away from being dead here, unless Chris discards a card. So Chris rolls in Kylo. He gets a 1 melee, a +2 melee, a Kylo's special, and a +1 on the Holocron. Unfortunately, the Holocron special already resolved on Jon's side, which probably means that any expensive cards are already out of his hand. At worst case scenario, Kylo's special will give you some information about your opponent's hand. And best case scenario, you hit him for 4 or 5 damage.
I'm gonna Force Strike. This is the triple. Yep.
So Jon plays Force Strike and hits Dooku for 3. Chris looks like he doesn't bother discarding a card to keep Dooku alive, because he must have some good cards in there.
3 damage to Vader.
Chris puts 3 damage into Vader. So Vader's still pretty healthy there. He's got 7 hit points left, which is more than half of his life. The Mind Probe specials are definitely doing some work for Jon here. When you roll in Vader and get 3 specials, you can definitely put some pain into your opponent.
He doesn't like you.
So Jon plays He Doesn't Like You, gets rid of Vader's die to get rid of the Kylo special, leaving Chris with just a Holocron with a +1, which doesn't do much. Chris should probably, if he doesn't claim now, then Jon can save a resource and claim the War Room. He's also got the Raider here. He's going to do the 3 damage regardless, but you can save a resource if you claim and make it so that he has to pay for it. So Chris claims because he doesn't want to get rid of the Force ability upgrade that's probably in his hand that he was re-rolling the Holocron for. Jon plays out a Holocron on the Raider. I'm not sure why he didn't do that before the Raider activated, but sure. So Jon takes a resource and then spends it to do 3 damage to Kylo, leaving him with 9 hit points. It is not looking very good for Chris at this point, unfortunately. Those double Mind Probes could basically kill him in 2 actions this turn. And of course the Mind Probes have a 1 in 3 chance of rolling their specials because they have 2 special sides. So Chris comes in with Kylo, gets a Holocron special, a Kylo's lightsaber special, a resource, and a shield. Looks like John's just looking at what cards he drew for this turn still. And he's going to roll Vader in. He actually tells him to discard a card. Now, one thing that people don't know or sometimes forget is that you can actually look at, because Vader's ability is an after ability, you don't have to discard the card until after you see what dice he rolls out. Unfortunately, in this case, he rolled out a ton of damage. But if you had a particular control card or two that you could choose from, you can take a look at what dice Vader rolls in with before deciding what to get rid of. John rolls in a 3 melee, a 2 melee, a +2 melee, a 3 range for 1, and a 2 disrupt. So there's a ton of damage out there. Chris is resolving the Holocron special, rolling in Force Throw, and unfortunately not getting the special on it, but he can still resolve the Kylo's lightsaber special if he wants to. I'm not sure if that'll matter too much at this point, since Kylo's going to be taking 7 damage and then 3 more after that.
2 damage.
I'm not sure what that just was, but he did 2 damage to Vader. Oh, Chris must have bumped his Kylo die and doesn't know what it was.
I don't know what it was either. Oh, was that this? Oh. Shield. Shield.
It looks like both players agree that it was a shield, and I believe that was correct.
Was it? That hurt. 7.
So it looks like John puts the 7 damage into Kylo, leaving him with 2 hit points left. With that 3 ranged on the Mind Probe out there, it looks like even if he does claim a shield on the Kylo die, that it's still lethal. So those Mind Probes are definitely doing some work for John here. It looks like Chris is 1 action away from being dead here, so he's giving it some thought to see if he can pull anything out at the last minute here, but unless he's got a disturbance in the Force or something along those lines, I'm not sure what he can do.
Take a shield. He only has 2 left, right? Yeah.
So Chris takes a shield and can't do anything about the 3 range damage, so that is the GG. So that was a quick and dirty round 1 feature game. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in a few days with round 2. There's 4 rounds in this tournament total. There was no top 4 cut, but we do have a finals. That was the top 2 players playing against one another. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, everybody.